Oh, uh, apparently the apocalypse is canceled. I guess we're doing a show tonight.
Okay, just so that we can start things off, Chuck, one
Yeah.
of these people has a thing for very long motorcycle rides, up to 3,800 miles at once at one time. Who do you think is doing that?
This is a trick question. The answer is me. Oh no, I've never been on a motorcycle. Um, I don't know. What do you think? Are you the motorcycle person?
I can tell you that I've only been invited to be on a motorcycle once in the Philippines, where my wife's family thought it was very normal, and I noped out pretty fast. It was one of those ones where there's like multiple seats on the back.
Yeah. So Catlin, that leaves you or John. I'm gonna have to guess you at that point.
That is correct. Yes, my partner and I both ride, and my dad taught me to ride when I was 12, so I've been riding a long time. And my partner and I both ride now, and we sometimes take very long motorcycle trips together.
Very, very cool. What got you into motorcycles?
My dad, he wrenched on motorcycles when I was a kid, and sometimes there would be deconstructed motorcycles in our living room, and he rode a lot with his friends, and my mom rode on the back of his. And so I just sort of grew up around motorcycles, and it was a natural progression of that. And so yeah, when I was 12, I don't even remember. I think I asked him to teach me, or maybe he offered. I don't quite remember how it happened, but we had this little tiny 90cc Honda that he was like, okay, here we go. And so that's what I learned to ride on, and then moved up
And
from
you were
there.
like 4 at the time.
No, I was 12.
No.
8
Well,
years
that's
older than
for
4.
12, you think you can never die.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
Perfect age.
yeah. Hmm.
I'd say
No,
most
and
of the folks I know who ride motorcycles regularly are convinced they can't die. So,
yeah,
on
that's
the other
true.
hand, most of the people I know who jaywalk are concerned that they can't die either. So, it, I don't know. You pays your money, you takes your chance. I've nearly been hit by at least 3 cars. I've been in a bunch of car accidents. I have not died, and I keep getting behind the wheel. What do I know?
Exactly. We all
I
do it.
have died before
But not in
right
a
around
car
the age of
accident.
4. And the funny thing is, I told that story to somebody one time, and their response was, "Oh yeah, both of my BMX accidents, I died." So,
Both of
but my
them.
favorite
Okay.
was the person who said to me, "8," and I said, "8?" They said, "Yes, every one of my heart operations, they medically killed me on the table and brought me back. So I've been dead 8 times." It's like I didn't know it's a contest, but you win. Uh,
It's too many even for a cat.
yep,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
heading in
Yeah.
for the edge.
that's it. My wife and I are going to Vermont for a few days. We rented a car. It's a Ford Escape hybrid, and the transmission is this little dial that's right in the middle of the hump, and there's no tension. You just slide it from one setting to the next, and then we both feel very strange using it because it's just not how a transmission is supposed to be. Because we grew up in the 70s where you had these automatic transmissions where you had to do 15 different things on the steering column, and then graduated to where you had to move something on the floor. So a dial is just unnatural.
It's weird.
Yeah. So, Mina, what about you? Any weird vehicular connections?
I'm a terrible driver. So I learned to drive before I got my glasses, which it took me 3 times to pass the test.
Nice.
You can pass the test with, you know, legal blindness. You
Mhm.
can.
Good to know.
Good to know what the other
Yeah.
people on the road. Yeah. So I'm not usually a driver these days. I have the glasses now, but I just never got back into the habit of it. But I'll let you guys know if I have any exciting vehicle times in the future.
Yeah. No,
Well,
my
I need to know when you're on the road.
Yeah, the answer is usually never.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. That's
I'm
all I
what they
need to know.
call an emergency driver.
yes. Yeah, no, because motorcycles are particularly vulnerable to bad car drivers.
Yes.
Um,
Largest danger, really.
Yes, and some of them have a real death wish. I was on the road yesterday, and a motorcycle went from behind me, around me to the left, to in front of me, to cross over to the lane to the right of me. And yeah, exactly. The look on that was the look on my face. It was like, you just wanted to get hit, didn't you? Because they did it immediately before a major curve where everyone has to change their speed. And it's like, I'm just.
There's
wow.
a stunt driver in my town,
Yeah.
a stunt rider, who rides the motorcycle very illegally, for the record, sitting side saddle on the bike through
How do you
traffic.
change gears that way?
No, well, and you can't reach all the controls, which is why it's illegal.
Yeah.
But rides side saddle and is sort of like monkeying around on the motorcycle at like 65 miles an hour in traffic.
Yeah.
I guess it's
there is
stuntman
65
mind or
miles an
something, I
hour
don't
in
know.
traffic. But
that person definitely thinks they're immortal.
yes. And so far so good, but yes.
Well, and they are good, but at some point, like, there's a very thin margin of error.
And somebody else is going to pay for it, not just them.
Yeah. Entertaining to watch. I always stay way far away from them.
It's like fireworks.
Closed course.
Yeah, I have a story by F. Deal in an anthology that I published, which is about 3 drivers who are actively trying to control how much action you have on the road and how much motion you have. And the person's trying to figure out whether they're being paranoid or these people really are targeting them. Yeah.
Oh my
That
goodness.
was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So one of you said something about being haunted by a cemetery. No one's fessing up, huh?
Well,
Yeah,
Oh, wait, are we
me.
supposed to?
I think this is me. Because I have gone through I went through a powerful abandoned building phase and like spent a lot of time going into abandoned buildings and all these different places around like upstate New York, which has, I would say, primarily abandoned asylums, because we just, at a certain point we were like, these are wrong and the way we're treating people here is wrong. So what we should do is shut them down completely and find nothing else to do with the people inside, which is a radical choice. But my favorite / most disturbing one is this one where they were testing really important vaccinations. Like it's an interesting historical place, but they have a cemetery like just on the edge of the grounds, and there are all these unmarked sticks like that come up out of the ground, and they have like a number. And it turns out they assigned each patient a number, and you can walk through the rows and you see like, they're all out of order because it's the order that they died. And they've kind of done their best to put up like a plaque that has the names of the people they know, but there's people there who we just will never know about. And it's one of the most interesting places I've ever been, and also genuinely very sad.
Wow.
I used to work for a training company, and outside the window of our classroom was a historical cemetery where almost all the grave markers are worn smooth. And there's just no evidence anymore. They all had names, presumably, but it was completely smooth. And we would make comments about don't fail the class, but yeah.
I would venture a guess that some of the sticks and numbers are there for the John Does and Jane Does who came in without any identifying papers, could not be traced back to living family members, and were just treated back as they were because they didn't know what else to do. You'll also notice that the older the graveyard, the more little stones there are for children. As you go back to a time before vaccinations and before public health was an actual thing. So that's something most folks just don't think about, and I think it probably deserves a bit more thought than we give to it.
Yeah. Medical science has changed so many things. I mean, I think about, I'm 64 now, and I think about what 64 looked like when I was a little kid, and it's like, no, we're better on nutrition, we're better on health, we're better in almost every vector, in terms of keeping people whole,
Mhm.
if they have the money to do that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that is unfortunately the late stage capitalism caveat. But yes, but that has made a very big change, and it gets interesting when you look at things like cemeteries, because horror writers, we kind of get drawn to things like that, but almost everything can be a prompt or an attractor for some story ideas. And I find it fascinating when I look out at things and it's just like, oh yeah, that needs to be written, and that needs to be written. So going to transition a little bit onto the writing side of things. Mina, what are some of the things that have given you that, oh yeah, I should write that moment?
Well, I mean, that setting actually does show up. A version of it does show up in one of my earlier comics, Infernoct. But for me, it's often like little awkward like dialogue that I overhear. My partner owns a cafe, and like there's something about like the coffee setting that people sit at the bar and just say very personal things to each other at full volume, like in inches of each other. And it's sort of like looking into a whole lot of people's brains really quickly. And I feel like it's always a little dialogue moment for me. It's like, I don't know what the real context was, but I'm going to make up my own and this will come back for me.
When I was working catering, I had two sentences. I don't know if they came from the same table or not, but my headcanon is they came from the same table and they were in the same conversation. And the first one was, so there I was just walking through the room with a handful of wasabi. And the second one was, oh, didn't you know that's how his son got his name? They could have been across the room from each other. My echolocation is terrible, but in my mind, that was a question and answer response pair right there.
It's awesome.
Would you name a boy or a girl Wasabi, or is it gender neutral?
I would think it's gender neutral, but that is a very interesting question.
Anyone can be spicy.
Yes.
I know a cat named Wasabi.
It's cute.
And the cat is a male cat. But yeah, I feel gender neutral. I think they would have named, well, I think the cat sort of named themselves Wasabi.
Did you like Wasabi?
No, I think he's just spicy in that particular way.
Very sharp.
Yes. But fades quickly. So I don't know.
So wasabi, but not a lot of salt to activate it.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Wasabi straight. It was a educational experience.
Oh yeah.
I will not do that again.
Well, the funny thing is I have what's called a bald palate. I have fewer than normal number of taste buds, so I can eat wasabi straight. It's just later I regret it. I don't feel it at the time, but later I regret it.
Once it starts playing Merry Hell with your colon, that's kind of the game over right there. So.
Yeah. So back around to what we were talking about. Catlyn, what kind of things gave you an aha about I have to write this?
So agreed with overhearing snippets of conversation. People watching is such a great inspiration. I would say a lot of times it's setting for me. And so I will find, I'll just see something slightly odd or something slightly off about a particular setting, and it will raise these questions in my head. So the one that is currently occupying a lot of space in my brain, but that hasn't manifested yet, is in my neighborhood. There's a house that has 2 cars in the driveway, both of which have flat tires and expired license plates. But there are lights that come on in the house, but the entire lot is grown up in forest, including through the deck of the house. And all of the paint is gone off of the siding. And so, like, what is going on there? It's so intriguing. And when I walk in my neighborhood, and when I walk by the house, I'm always like stopping and looking and sort of like pretending like I'm not peering at this house while completely checking it out, because it's such an interesting, I mean, it looks like a cabin in the middle of a forest that has is falling into disrepair, but it's in like a suburban neighborhood, surrounded by completely normal well-kept houses. And so and I've also thought about, like, what is it like to be their neighbor? And like, what, so anyway, it's such an interesting setting, and at some point it's going to manifest somewhere.
That feels like 6 or 7 books the way you're saying it.
I know, right? Maybe.
I could see the book about the neighbor, the book about the person walking by who doesn't want to admit they're looking.
Yep. Lots of directions to go.
And then the big reveal in the 7th book that there is no interior to the house at all. Something else is going on.
Absolutely. The reveal at the end is cosmic. It's cosmic horror, and you didn't know it until you get to the end.
Unless you listen to this podcast, and then it's completely ruined for you. And we apologize personally for the spoilers on the story that hasn't been written yet.
Yes.
Yes. So, horror writer, college professor, how much overlap is there between those two things?
Sometimes quite a bit. So, although it depends on the semester. So this semester I'm teaching the philosophy of death and dying, and there's a lot of overlap. And so I have assigned The Life of Chuck, for example, by Mr. King.
Should I take that personally?
I don't know. Did Stephen King write that about you? Maybe.
I haven't seen any royalty checks, so I'm going to assume not, because he seems like an honorable guy, you know. So.
He does. So, and so sometimes there's more overlap than others. Sometimes I reveal to my students that I'm a horror writer. Sometimes I don't. It just sort of depends on the context. But I will say that the other way it manifests is that a lot of my academic interests manifest in my writing in a variety of ways. So I have a PhD in religious studies. So I'm constantly world building with sort of mythological themes and mythological characters. So that is another place where the college professor comes into the horror writer.
Very, very cool. So, Mina, you were talking about comic books. Is all of your writing comics, or do you do longer form, or?
I do both. I do mostly comics at this point in my career, actually, which is not where I thought we were going.
Do you have anything you can hold up and like show us?
Oh, I do actually. This is Infernoct, which was the first thing that I had published, but it's also republished through Iron Age right now.
Cool.
And then I also have Haunted Box, which is in solicitation through Lunar right now. If you happen to want to get this in your local comic shop, I'm obsessed with this box.
No kidding! Look at that thing.
It's this tome, and you can keep all your little magazine-sized guys in there. This was an anthology, which pretty fun. Later is going to be from this one.
What made you transition into comic books? Or did you start there?
I actually started in comics because I was in school for screenwriting. And one of my best friends there, AC Medina, just like dropped out of school to write comics suddenly. And I was like, that's a thing that human beings can do like at this time. And I started kind of like asking him a lot about it and how he was doing it. And then eventually he was like, do you want to just like get in touch with my editor? Because it feels like that's where this is going. So we wrote some books together and stuff. And it's been kind of like, it's surprising to me, like the amount of diversity in comics world there is. Like I'm working in YA right now. I have something coming out of Paper Cuts. It's like, yeah, it's not where I thought we were going, because I thought we were going to TV.
Yeah.
So
I've always wanted to try my hand at comic writing. I've done screenplays, I've done radio plays, and so you would think comics would be the next logical thing, except I can't figure out how to get my brain into that space. I mean, there are stories that I know are sufficiently visual to make some kind of transition, but I'll figure it out. But I'm stuck in the long form of where we are.
It's very similar to screenwriting. It's like the only thing is that the page turns control the pace.
Yes.
So that's like the thing that I had to like grapple with, because I was used to just writing a story, and suddenly it was like, oh, like, yes, there's someone whose job it is to take over and make the visuals work, but it's my job to figure out if this is slow or not.
I've been told by someone who genuinely understands the business is it's not the same as handing your screenplay to an artist and say, here, illustrate this. That is not going to work ever. Yeah.
I spent a lot of days with a co-author, and for various reasons, it's not actually going to come out. But we spent a lot of days getting 8 pages of a comic book done, and it was a lot of days figuring out and understanding because neither of us had done that format before.
Wow.
And it gave me a whole new level of respect.
It's, it's also who you collaborate with, because it's, at a certain point you write the script and then you give it to them and you're like, what you make is what people are going to see.
Yes, it's not mine anymore. Here, yours. Yes. Kat,
So you do. Oh, I was
good.
going to ask Mina. So you do the writing and somebody else does the art.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. Some people are like a real auteur and they do both and they make it like it's their whole world. But I didn't get the talent for that one.
Okay, so that kind of leads us into talking about you guys doing some reading for us. So, Mina, do you have something you want to read for us?
I do. I actually have something that is going to be in the Haunted Box. So you're going to get it without visuals, but that's okay because this one is more prose. Shall I just jump in?
Yeah.
The first tooth was wedged between the floorboards. It gleamed in the sunlight like it was still wet, freshly licked by some nervous and unseen tongue. Adam's girlfriend, who was sometimes called Anna, spotted it first. She'd been carrying half of the couch, but she put it down. Adam, left holding the other half, cursed. On her hands and knees, she felt the tooth's familiar smoothness. "What the fuck are you doing?" Adam asked lightly. Adam's girlfriend leapt back up, presenting her palm. Sitting incongruously in the middle of her hand was the tooth. He continued to look at her, expression blank under his beard. "It's a tooth," she announced. He didn't respond. All at once, she realized he was waiting. "Sorry, baby." He was sometimes called baby. Adam's girlfriend grabbed her side of the couch back up. She walked slowly backwards, and the couch followed. She couldn't see where Adam was steering her. Her arms felt brittle, like the couch might crush her at any minute. In her pocket, the tooth still gleamed wetly. While he was away, Adam's girlfriend's feelings for him still twinkled brightly, an ache behind the diaphragm. She took his boxers and socks out of cardboard boxes, carefully folding them for the dresser drawers which stood empty and waiting. Her thoughts danced between glimmering limerence and piety. She worshipped only at the Church of Adam. The second tooth appeared under the hallway radiator. It rattled up the vacuum tube, but she fished it back out again, swaddled in ancient dust and nested in hair. The third looked almost yellow against the sterile white bathroom tile. The fourth appeared in Adam's overcoat pocket. "Why don't you get a job?" Adam had asked when she presented her little collection of teeth rattling at the bottom of an old jelly jar. At night, Adam's girlfriend kept her eyes open, watching blue bars dance across the ceiling with every passing car. Adam was perfect. She was not perfect, but every day she tried, which was almost as good. She had thought that the house was perfect too, but there was something rotten at its root, a decay building up and threatening to spread. The thought throbbed in her stomach, twisting up her insides. It was suddenly very hot. She sat up. Next to her, Adam mumbled something indistinct. She said, "In the morning, I want us to figure out where the teeth are coming from." "They're not coming from anything." Adam's voice was thick with sleep. Her stomach twisted, threatening to force acrid bile up her throat and choke her and eat away at her teeth. For the first time in their life together, she did not believe him. The crunch of the tooth popping under her slipper sole was the most repulsive sound she had ever heard. She could feel the bone dust grinding against the tile. She stayed perfectly still. What if there were more? What if the whole floor was littered with them? Her panicked reflection in the mirror was distorted into a mask by the darkness. It felt like the vein in her throat was going to burst. She took a deep, shuddering breath, but it still felt like she was drowning. "What are you doing in here?" The bathroom light came on. Shocked, she spun around. There was no tooth under her heel. "You're serious?" Adam looked down at the floorboard, the one that the very first tooth had been hiding under. We probably paid another $1,500 for hardwood. She nodded. He took a long, deep breath, the kind designed to keep him from saying what he was thinking. With a sudden fervor, Adam drove the pry bar between the boards. The boards splintered and cracked. He tossed the pieces away, harder than was necessary. Adam's girlfriend put her hand over her mouth. In the dusty space under the door was a dented cardboard box. Adam pulled it out and put it on the unbroken floor. "Have at it," he said. She shook her head. He pushed it towards her. She opened it. It was empty, except for a pair of unadorned metal pliers. "Thank God we destroyed the floors for that," Adam said, rolling his eyes. That night, she dreamt the walls of the bedroom were soft, quivering flesh. The bed beneath her was a powerful muscle, curling, twisting, tasting. Why the beast waited to swallow her, she couldn't say. Its teeth were out of sight, but not out of mind. She woke up drenched in sweat she mistook for saliva. Beside her, Adam was sleeping. In the dark, the features of his face seemed to shift and change. For a strange moment, she was terrified that he would open his eyes and grin. As the cold dawn light came in, his face no longer looked monstrous, but the sick chill in her stomach remained. Someone left that box under the floor. Someone hid the teeth in the corners of the rooms. They were the only two in the house. The jar smashed into 1,000 jagged shards. The teeth inside scurried for cover, rolling under furniture and into dark corners. She shrieked the way she might have if he'd opened a roach trap and shaken the dying bugs out onto the living room floor. "You're making me crazy," Adam shouted. He looked it. "I'm sorry," she started. "It's just, say one more word about teeth and I will fucking scream." Afterwards, Adam's girlfriend gathered the pieces of glass into a plastic bag and threw them away. Adam's face was not still in sleep. His closed eyes twitched like his eyes were darting around under the lids. His mouth moved slightly like he was chewing. Adam's girlfriend straddled his chest. Gently but firmly, she slid her thumb into his mouth, pulling his cheek away from the gums. He hummed quietly but did not wake. When she clenched the cold pliers around his maxillary left canine, his eyes shot open. She wrenched back, more shocked than anything else. His strangled cry turned into a choke and a splutter as she pressed her forearm down on his throat. She opened the pliers, and the tooth fell into the waiting cardboard box. The pliers were slick with blood, but her grip stayed firm as she went in for the first premolar. Anna, who had once been called other things, lay on the couch. The sun was warm on her face, and the shadows of the tree outside danced on the ceiling. The door to the bathroom was open, and she thought later she might take a bath. The door at the end of the hall, which had once been a bedroom, was closed. It would never be open again. There was a warm glow in the room, which had nothing to do with the sun.
That wasn't creepy at all. Not one bit.
Yeah.
But it's embarrassing to admit that where are the teeth coming from is probably the first thing I would have thought of in that situation. But yeah, not creepy. I'm good. I'm not going to have nightmares tonight.
Hopefully you keep all your teeth in your mouth.
I have porous little eminence on my front, so whatever. If my wife comes at me with a pliers, she's going to have some extra work ahead of her.
Isn't there a phobia about losing your teeth? It's some sort of phobia. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody has that nightmare where like your teeth are just falling out for no reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that touches very, very effectively. I really like the way that comes across. And it's going to be interesting to see how it comes across illustrated as well.
Yeah, the artist I worked with on that is like, you'll see when I'll see if I can pull any out. Like he's very talented and very spooky. This was fun for me because instead of being a full comic, it's, illustrated prose. His name is Sean Bova. He's very talented. We haven't met in person, which was weird for working together, but.
It's always interesting, things like that. I had somebody that I had published, and I was at an event, and this woman walks up to me, and she says, "We haven't met, but you've published my work." I was like, "Oh, okay." It's always an interesting way to be introduced to somebody. You don't know me, but you know me.
Yeah. And it's an interesting way to get to know somebody too, because like you meet them through, especially horror, meet them through what they think is scary.
Yes.
Kind of interesting. And then you're like, oh, this is what you've looked like this whole time.
I was on a podcast recently, a different podcast. I do that sometimes. Um, and we were talking about Jekyll and Hyde. And one of the things that I said is that having gone to Stoker and met so many people there in Catlin, I realized that this is one of the most empathetic groups of people I've ever met. And that you kind of have to understand people to be able to scare people effectively. There's a comedian, I forget his name, but he made the comment that, jump scares are not really horror. He says, it's like if I ran out into the audience and tickled you and said, she laughed, I'm a comedian. But to really reach the kind of stuff that you're reaching there, reach a lot of the kind of stuff that we aspire to when we write horror, you have to understand people. You have to have a deep empathy. You have to know where it hurts, because as a person, you want to help alleviate it. As a writer, you want to kind of press on it a little bit. And with that, Catlin, you have something for us?
I do. So I'm going to read an excerpt from As Those Above Fall, which was published last September. So about a year ago now. Yeah, here we go. I will be waiting for him when he comes, like in a fairy tale. The edge of night will bring him. He will come up my walk with the vanishing sun glowing in the tips of his hair. His chin will drop in that way it does, his lips curving up in that smile I know is only for me. Beautiful death and the dying day on the edge of endless night. I am the princess, and he is the dark prince. He will awaken me with his touch, and his kiss will be for all time. Then the pain. It ripped through my abdomen, and I wept, weaker than before, my voice cracking and hoarse. I froze and shivered, dripping sweat. My teeth chattered, and Zeke's image blew away on the wind. I cried feebly. Darkness pressed in, and the floor beneath me felt cold and damp. The only light came from a guttering candle on the floor 20 feet away, casting shadows on the huge 4-poster bed that loomed alien in the dark behind me, an ancient relic of eras bygone, the mattress stained and unspeakable. The shadows twisted and danced in ecstasy over my agony. The pain cut through me, glass in my veins. My stomach cramped, and I brought my knees to my chest, though the muscles in my back screamed in protest. Everywhere hurt, kidneys throbbing, muscles strained and protesting. My flesh was mottled with bruises and abrasions, a neat row of puncture marks up my arms from his teeth. He drank again and again, until I felt my heart fall into rhythm with his. All at once I burned with heat and pushed the filthy quilt off with a groan. He had left me naked, drying blood flaking off my chest and thighs, bites and scratches scabbing over. More blood, my blood, dried on the cracked floor in a dark and muddy pool. Shuddering with effort, I rolled to my knees and knelt on the quilt, the cold of the concrete seeping through the fabric. I was too weak to stand, and I dropped my head, sobbing, pain in every shaky breath. I wondered if he had broken ribs. I retched, but only brought up bile that burned the back of my throat. I will be waiting for him when he comes, but it will not be Zeke. Not Zeke glowing in the last light of the dying day with his red and gold hair. Not Zeke with his perfect face, the shadows swarming beneath his cheekbones and shifting in his silver eyes. I will be here when he comes. There is no avoiding it. A shadow moved across the room, darkness against the dark, and I gritted my teeth against the screams I knew he would tear from me. All of my mental defenses had fallen, and his aura poured off him in wild red waves burning against the dark. My own aura, normally deep and vibrant, had taken on a sickly greenish cast. My blood on the floor shone with the same glow, but fading. My blood was losing life both inside and outside of me. Malachi wore only jeans, and his white skin rippled across his stomach and arms, his black hair coating his shoulders like oil. The reason that all vampires are beautiful in the movies is because who would want to spend eternity with the plain, the homely? Of course they are beautiful. The vampire virus takes the raw material and transforms it into the perfect predator, designed to attract with every sense. Physically perfect, they emit pheromones designed to heighten the desire of their prey. Zeke smells of the desert after the rain, Malachi like night-blooming jasmine. I saw the glitter of a glass in his hand. Here, he held it out, and I saw dark amber liquid. It will help with the pain. I took it and drank, the whiskey scorching my raw throat. I gagged as the heat hit my stomach, but held it down, drinking it all, the warmth bursting in my belly. Malachi watched me choke, a small smile playing on his mouth. It's time for more of this, too. He produced a switchblade and clicked it open, the blade appearing like a magic trick. Holding out his wrist, he drew the knife across the blue veins. His blood seeped from his flesh, and I smelled it, rust and jasmine. Already the flesh began to close across the wound. My stomach roiled, but it was too late to turn back now. I could give up and die, or I could continue to fight, and still probably die. I took his hand and brought his flesh to my mouth, swallowing the viscous liquid that blossomed on my tongue. The scent of jasmine filled my throat, sickly sweet and cloying. Malachi pulled away, and I curled inward, freezing again. I wanted this, I reminded myself. I asked for this. If only I had known the price. Sweet little Zora, he crooned. Sweet little angel, so lost, so alone. You forget yourself, I hissed, looking up at him through tangled hair. He glowed, Cupid deranged, his perfect mouth a pink bow beneath seawater eyes. The rings in his eyebrow glinted in the light, and he opened his jeans with a rip of buttons. I moaned. He was pierced below as well, 3 deadly spikes. I will be waiting for him when he comes. I will wait for him in the shadows, sleeping beauty awakened from the dead by the kiss of the dark prince. I will run to him, and he will take me into his arms. He will consume me, his aura enveloping mine, red on red for all time. He will be my lover who cannot die, my Zeke of the innumerable ages with his fleeting smile of sharp teeth. He will carry me away into the magic night, his mouth coming down on my lips, and I will kiss him forever.
I don't know, forever seems like a long time.
Yeah, playing with that fairy tale trope.
It's very, very effective. I like that a lot. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, what do you guys have coming up next? What's next, Mina? You got the box coming out. What else is coming out?
Yeah, coming out through Lunar. I just started writing for this company called Chain Letter, which does short horror prose, which has been really fun. Mine is out already. It's called Sleepwalker. And then Infernoct is getting a little re-release as well from Iron Age. And then down the line, I have something from Paper Cuts coming, which is middle grade, but still spooky.
Very, very good. I've seen a lot of very spooky middle grade.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff there. Catlin, what about you? What you got?
So immediately in September, I have a short story called "You Made Me Want to Kill the World" that's coming out in a anthology by Dark Matter Press called Little Red Flags. So I'm super excited about that. And then my longer work in progress is a psychological thriller. And I'm describing it as like Donnie Brasco meets The Future by Naomi Alderman. And so it's the question that I'm wrestling with or playing around with in it is like, what would it look like if the apocalypse was planned and somebody was actually trying to make it happen? And so it's a psychological thriller that's out with beta readers right now. And then, I don't have a publication timeline on it, but probably sometime next year.
Yeah, beta readers are incredibly important. It's really, really useful to have stuff go through other people.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So let me ask you guys about that. What has your experience been with beta readers, writing groups, things like that?
Yeah, Mina, you want to go?
I've done some beta readers for longer prose stuff. I feel like it's really important for that, especially for me, because I'm used to working with a team of artists and editors and like people who are involved. So like even right now I have something in letters. So someone's doing lettering right now and he'll send a message and be like, hey, I don't know if this section is clear or like if there's something you want to change up. And you don't get that at all when you're just working in prose because you do it alone at your laptop. So, I think beta readers could be anybody, but I personally kind of like it when they're not other writers, just because there's somebody who will read it and be like, because I feel like another writer will be like, I get what you were trying to do here, and here's how I would, work on it and make it stronger, which is great. But someone who's just a reader will be like, I didn't like this, which is really great. Like, that's what you need to hear sometimes.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I would say beta readers, I always run it through beta readers, and I have sort of a few who I trust to like catch me on my bullshit or and point out places where like the story bogs down or it doesn't make sense, or and so I feel like they are vital to getting the piece into a point where then I can share it with an editor. And I also love working with editors. I learn something new every time I work with an editor. I feel like editors are incredible at recognizing what you're trying to do and helping you do it the best you possibly can. And I just really love that process and find it affirming, and I always learn something, which I love.
Very, very cool. John, what about you? Have you had experiences?
I have worked with a variety of editors. I didn't start using beta readers consistently until just recently. But I've got a team of people that I really do listen to, that know what I'm trying to communicate. And yeah, it has increased it's made my stuff more readable. It's made my stuff better, stronger. And so I'll be stepping up that effort in future projects. I've worked with a bunch of editors, some of which had a very heavy hand, and some of which had a very light hand. And it's interesting to see who brings what to the effort, because ultimately it really is a team effort, no matter what you're doing. So yeah.
Yeah. So I will never stop singing the praises of my writing group. And to exactly the point that was made, we're all very good at not rewriting your story. We're all very good at skipping that step and cutting that impulse. The core people in my group have been together for 10 years now. So we really, really understand how to approach this for each other. I got to do a class 2-3 weeks ago at an anime convention. I love doing this. I do this pretty much every year. I go out to an anime convention called Otakon, and I teach writing, and I'm the only writing topic at the convention. So I always get a full room because I'm it if that's what you want to do. And Joe, who's one of my partners in the writing group, actually, I met him through Otakon. He came up to the front with me, and we did paired critiquing as we were going through it. And it was a really nice thing to take somebody who's been honed through 10 years of the writing group, and we're doing this live. Somebody's reading, 4 paragraphs, half a page, and we're saying, here's what we think, and turn it over to the audience. Here's what we think, turn it over to the audience. And it was just a wonderful flow because he and I have worked together for that long. John's wife, Laura, is part of the group. And recently, it was interesting. I put a story in front of them, and she was one of the few people it didn't land with, anyone that I'd showed it to. And I finally realized why, because she gave me this wonderful little piece of critique, and I suddenly went, oh, there are 2 people you might think the main character is talking about when he says he in the very last sentence of the story. If you got it right, the story lands. If you got it wrong, the story doesn't land, and it's my fault that you got it wrong, because I gave you 2 people, and the most recent he is not the right one. Yep. It was like, the others saw past that. It's like, I like the story. I like where it landed. And Laura's like, I don't like where it landed. And I realized from her comment, it's because she thinks he's blaming the victim, not the predator.
Yeah.
And something like that, you can look at it on the page all day long. You know what you meant. You know where the pronoun went. Yeah. Not going to work for some people. And catching that early is a wonderful thing.
That's a great example.
Yeah. So I'm very excited for all the stuff you guys have coming out. And we're going to call the episode now because John is going to get locked into the building. He's still at work.
I'm being waved at by the security guard right now. So
Yes.
I need to,
Like, okay.
Yes. But we're going to holler for our MC. She's in the other room, so if you can help me make it a little louder. Danny!
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 Danny, we're ready!
Hey!
And that's our show. If you are horror adjacent in books, comics, film, streaming, and want to be on the Horror Words podcast, email drownedrat@horrorwords.com. Good night.